It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of trial and error.
But if you get involved with us and you hook up with Dr. Plains, we will 1,000,000% make sure that's not trial and error for you.
Welcome to Livestream. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Plains, with my co-host, Jeremy Applegate. Welcome, Jeremy. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. I want to talk to you about an article I read. I know.
An article?
Don't fall out of your chair.
That scares me when you come up with articles.
There's an article by The Lonely Entrepreneur, The 5 Types of an Entrepreneur. I thought it was a really interesting read. And, it had researcher, buyer, imitator, hustler, and innovator as the 5 types of an entrepreneur. What do you think about that?
That's a great point. I mean, I think I can classify myself as, right off the bat, an innovator / hustler.
I'd agree with that.
But, in order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you also need to be a buyer and you need to be a researcher. And sometimes you got to imitate from the best.
So what you're saying is an entrepreneur is all 5 of them at some point.
Yeah, you're a hybrid of all 5 of them.
I think that's probably a well-rounded entrepreneur, to be honest with you. Because if you get stuck in one of those categories all the time, what happens?
I think that you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I agree. So you think you're definitely an innovator. Why do you say I know you're an innovator, but why would the listeners, what would they need to know about you to make sure that you're an innovator?
Because I'm always looking for a different what hasn't been created yet.
Okay.
So, like, for example, I don't want to give too much of the idea out, but there's a lot of good ideas that we're working to internally that I'm happy to be releasing soon. But I'm always looking for different ways to improve the field and improve the community and improve the different ideas that we're working on currently.
I agree. I think one of the responsibilities of an innovator is to create more stress for me.
Yeah, I'm constantly creating a lot more stress for you and the team. That's for sure. How many ideas haven't I come up to you like in the last 2 years?
We have 5 or 7. We have 5 to 7 things going on right now.
Well, it's great, but what are we doing?
We're doing a lot of stuff.
We're changing the world one bite at a time.
We're changing the world. Yeah, that's right. We are changing the world.
So yeah, I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you definitely got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to adapt to all these different, the innovator, the buyer, the imitator, the hustler, because you can't just be a hustler.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not doing your research and making sure that you're doing the right moves, you're going to end up setting yourself up for failure.
And I agree with that. And listen, you can't be a hustler all the time, because what's going to happen is you're going to burn yourself out.
You're going to burn yourself out.
You're going to be dead. You're not wanting to get out of bed. They're going to put you 6 feet under way earlier than you ever thought you were going to be. So, that's just, you have to hustle, but you can't be a hustler all the time.
My dream is to be an entrepreneur where, the money works for me rather than me work for the money. I'm still trying to figure that out. So I can't give any recommendations on that avenue, but I'm always trying to find a way to get passive income through different sources.
I think that's interesting too. I think that when you define an entrepreneur, sometimes the status quo definition is, I'm going to be an owner of this specific organization in this specific industry. And that's not necessarily true.
No, it's not necessarily true.
That's part of being an innovator, right?
That's correct. And I think you just made me click on something. What I think that you should do if you're going to be an entrepreneur, make sure you master that craft before you go ahead and you start, getting into a landscaping company or something that you have no idea about.
You're not thinking about doing that, are you?
I've thought about it.
Let's not do that right now.
I've thought about it, but at the end of the day, you got to understand your business. You got to understand. If you notice, the majority of the business ventures that we're working on are all related to the medical or dental field.
Yeah, the medical industry for sure.
So, you got to make sure that if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, like our previous guest has said, make sure that you understand the marketplace that you're working on.
That's well said. So, hustler. So how do you be a hustler and not burn yourself out? What do you think about that?
I think it goes back to what I was just saying. I think it gets to a point where a good hustler and a good entrepreneur will find different avenues to get passive income, so you can have those breaks to spend with your with your family and friends and relax a little bit.
I think that's. I think you said that well, but I also think that to add on to that is, we already talked about this in a different podcast, but understanding when you need to bring support. Hustler can't hustle all the time. You got to have.
No, you gotta be delegating.
Yeah.
But it's like Nick was saying, like, you can have a work from home business now,
Yep.
and you really only have maybe 1 or 2 employees, and you can make millions just working from home.
Yeah, for sure.
So you don't need those huge teams, depend on what industry you're going to be in.
That's true.
There's a lot of guys out there that, that are all bluff and, let me see your bank account. Let me see if you really did make that amount of money. So you got to be careful where you guys get your advice from, because a lot of it is bluff and a lot of it is fake and a lot of it is not real. They're just influencers trying to sell you on a gimmick.
And I think that I'm glad you said that, because people get victimized by that all the time. Like, I am an industry expert. Pay me, and I'll show you how to do it. I mean, that's just doesn't make any sense.
How many industry experts haven't we seen in the dental?
Oh my gosh!
But how many organizations have you ran, dude? How much money have you made in your life? What was your biggest transaction like?
Correct.
And most of these guys cannot even give you a right answer or direct. Yeah, I owned one practice, 20 years ago, and we were doing. That's not somebody that I'm going to get. I mean, I'm going to listen to them, but that's not somebody that you're going to be taking advice to grow an organization to the levels that you want to, right?
That's very, very true. That's very true, because those industry experts are, they think that they worked for a previous organization, and they, come up with these SOPs, and they come up with all these processes, and they think they're enhancing the ones that somebody else already created.
Yeah. So show me. I want to
like,
see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I want to see what you're doing. I mean, I want to see your bank account. I want to see your tax returns.
Yeah.
You said you made all these millions doing this, but let me see it,
Well, I think I'm not trying to jump around here too much, but, I'll use our Implants for All provider relations program. We have the data and put it in front of the doctor saying this is how much you're going to make a month, annually, etc. And I think that's important, and I think you're right. People do miss that. Those industry experts, they do miss that.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to be the leader of your organization, you got to lead by example.
Yeah.
So if you're going to tell doctors or your team to do this, you better be doing the best job at it. Like you see me every single month, I'm pushing it more and trying to break my own goals, because at the end of the day, I need my team to follow me and be like, if the owner's doing it and he's working twice as hard as I am, then I need to follow him.
No, I agree.
You can't be a leader and just be giving orders and telling people what to do. For me personally, that's not a leader.
And I agree with you on that, and I think that's part of being an entrepreneur and being the hustler type too. Is nobody's going to out hustle you.
No, you can't.
We can't do that. We've tried, and it's something that we can't make happen.
There will be eventually somebody, but I mean, they're gonna have to work really hard at it.
For sure. What do you think about like research? How, if you have an entrepreneur type of research?
I mean, I always research any project that I'm gonna be acquiring or buying, or any de novo practice, which means new practice.
Yeah.
You got to do your research. You got to do your target market analysis. You got to make sure that the lease is worded correctly. We go back and forth in all these leases. If you're going to be buying another group or a group of 2 or 3 locations, make sure that you've done your research on all of them and make sure that everything aligns with what you're doing. So you're going to have to print out a lot of reports. You're going to have to spend nights researching this information.
Yeah, I think they all intertwine, like we've said already. You do you're a researcher as an entrepreneur, and then guess what? Now you become a buyer.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, and you might be buying a group that they're doing a lot of good things, and you're imitating what they're doing. Sometimes you got to look at what other people are doing, and it doesn't even need to be in your same space.
Yep, that's true.
They can be in real estate, or they can be in landscaping, or they can be in another realm, but they're doing a lot of things right.
For sure.
So yeah, you got companies out there like Cardone Ventures where you mix all these different groups of companies. You got contractors, you got roofing contractors, flooring companies, dentists, chiropractors, the landscaping companies, but at the end of the day, Brandon came up with a model where you're going to be able to grow all these companies, right, by giving them the right operational tools, marketing tools, financial tools, and people tools to be able to hire and recruit the right people.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to understand the business. And I think that a lot of people want to become entrepreneurs before they even understand how to run a company and how to lead an organization by creating the right culture.
I think you're very true on that. And I'll just talk about dentists real quick. You know, they get through dental school, and you know they get thrown out into the world. And what's the first thing the dentist wants to do when they get out of dental school? They want to buy a practice.
They want to buy dental practice. They want to invest $600,000, $500,000 into a dental practice. They go into all this expensive equipment, all this expensive cabinetry. So I think you got to be careful and more calculated. So you got to do your research and make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into.
And you got to hustle, and you got to research, and you got to be, you know, you still need to have some innovation.
We all know that if you're going to own a business, you can't be thinking you're going to be working only 9 to 5.
Correct.
If you want to work 9 to 5, you might as well become an associate dentist or become an employee. There's no sense of wanting to be an entrepreneur, because you're going to do good, but you're not going to be successful. I mean, you might as well be an associate and eliminate all the headaches.
And I think that's, you know, my own opinion on that is, I think, you know, doctors coming out of school, unless they have some kind of mentorship when they get done, you know, they should start that way.
Yeah, I think the dental schools do a terrible job giving dentists, dental students, you know, education on how to run a business.
Why? I mean, I know clinical is like, hey, you need as much clinical training and education as possible, but they got to build some business in there somewhere.
Yeah, they definitely got to. I mean, we're willing to go and, you know, train the students on how to open up businesses, you know, if anyone's interested. So, you know, there's a lot of information that these two minds here collectively can, you know, bring to the schools, because you don't want to go, and I have a lot of colleagues of mine that are also willing to go and educate the students on the mistakes that, you know, you make owning a business. It's not as easy as, you know, banks are going to lend you the money, right? Because the default rate for dentists is less than 2%.
Yep.
So they're going to lend you the money, but how many of these dental practices actually succeed?
It's a very small margin on that, because they don't they don't understand the business. You know, they don't understand the hustle and the research and the buyer and all the 5 types of an entrepreneur. They just don't get all that. You know, it's learned by trial and error.
It's a lot of trial and error.
But if you get involved with us and you hook up with Dr. Plains, we will 1,000,000% make sure that's not trial and error for you.
Yeah, we've kind of figured it out.
I think we have.
You know, we do still have some headaches, but we pretty much have it systematized. I mean, we just opened up a de novo practice in less than 90 days, you know, from start to finish. So, you know, you can follow us on dralexplains.com, and you can be a part of our live stream community. And we're helping dentists all across the United States continue to evolve and grow internally and externally. Look forward to seeing you there.